To be chatting with the film's stars, Troye Sivan, who stars as Caleb. And tell me about this film and why it was one that you wanted to, be a part of telling the story.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think for me, it's kind of a subconscious thing that I gravitate towards projects that I feel can help progress a conversation. I think it's like the reason why I like it so much is making stuff can sometimes feel a little bit like frivolous. I'm like, oh, we're making a movie and playing pretend, or I'm like writing a song, like it's a pop song or whatever, And so I think being able to kind of like take what I love and feel like it might actually kind of affect some sort of change or show someone themselves on the screen, that just feels so much more exciting to me. And then I got sent the script by Jared. Jared and I knew each other from like parties, and I knew Jared as like sweet Jewish Jared who loves pop music, and I'd like to think of myself as sweet Jewish Troye who likes pop music. And so we always like bonded over that. And Jared sent me the script, and I think I was like on tour or something like that it took me a rude amount of time to get to it. And when I finally did, I had no idea where the project was like in standing, and literally within what was like 2 or 3 days after I read it, we were like making the movie. And so I just loved the script. I fell in love with Jared's voice and Caleb's voice, and I fell in love with Caleb as a character. He's got this like kind of tough exterior. He's kind of a brat sometimes, but he I think is just the biggest sweetheart at his core. And I was really touched by the relationship between Caleb and Dara. And then of course, the idea that this could, like I said, help progress a conversation that I think is a super, super, super important one. And one that for some reason, even though it's been as long as it's been, is something that's still kind of shrouded in like secrecy and shame and just a lot of ignorance, and so, yeah, I just like couldn't wait to be a part of it.
What do you want them to take away from Caleb and this story that Jared has told?
I mean, I think like the thing that kind of gagged me when I first read the script was that you truly, truly feel like he's going to be okay. You know that he's going to be okay, no matter what, and that in itself is just, I think, so powerful. And it's something that a lot of people don't know, you know what I mean? And also I would say the majority maybe of the people who like engage with my music or whatever are LGBT, but there's also a large portion of people who aren't. And they really don't know a lot at all. Like when I talk to my straight friends about this medication that I take, PrEP, they're like, oh, what is that? Like they truly have no sense of, I'm sure some people do, but a lot of people really don't, of like the state of HIV today and what it looks like today. And like Javier said before, it's like, we've been told stories, very few of them from kind of like a more sort of current perspective, And so I really, really hope that people like learn a lot. But also I think the thing that excited me so much about this project was how like accessible it felt and how fun it felt and, how joyous it felt. And, I think that like, to me, humor has been such a coping mechanism my entire life. And it feels like a very queer coping mechanism to me, like, I think that, sure, we could have made kind of this like deep, serious, dark movie about a really serious issue. But it feels very kind of like subversive and queer and cool to me and realistic and true to like also laugh about it and kind of like bond in the experience through humor. And so the fact that this movie, I think, is hopefully going to appeal to young people and be like a really easy, fun watch, I think makes it like more powerful as a tool, to kind of like spread this message. So yeah, that's exciting to me.
That is. Troye, was there ever something when, that you watched on TV or a book that you read or a movie that you saw that really just kind of helped you and hit home when it comes to, your queer identity?
So it was a weird time because when I was like coming out to myself, I feel like there was definitely stuff being made. I remember catching Queer as Folk one night on TV when my family was asleep, and I was like shaking and like I couldn't handle watching it, but I also couldn't look away. But honestly, like I don't know if it's because I lived with my family and we were all kind of so on top of each other. I didn't feel comfortable. Like if there was a queer story on TV, I honestly would like kind of run away from it. And so for me, it was all, I was lucky that I had YouTube. YouTube came out in 2007 when I was in grade 7. So I was about to go into high school. And that was really where I started to kind of see representation for the first time, that I started to see people that reminded me of myself, and coming out stories. That I think was that sort of like genre of YouTube genuinely completely changed my life. And also you hear really real experiences, it's like every kind of experience, from people who were kicked out of home to people who had kind of like the dream coming out of everyone being supportive and a really loving and supportive family and friends. And so I just spent hours and hours and hours watching those videos, and those were really kind of like what shaped me. I think that was the media that shaped me.
Troye, what was it like to get to work with, Ellen Burstyn? I mean, because it's got to be pretty amazing.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it, because I just feel like, I still haven't really like accepted in my head that I'm like an actor or anything like that. And so to work with someone with so much knowledge, like truly a titan and an absolute great, I was extremely intimidated, and then immediately put at ease, because she wanted to have like cheese and wine. She actually lived below me. We like lived in a duplex during the filming. And so I would like see her in the morning, and she invited me down to a little patio, and we had just like a meeting where we sat and talked. And I asked her, advice about, taking on this big challenge and about acting in general. And, the conversation like meandered, and we just really bonded and talked about life and family and relationships. And it was just such a surreal experience. And I really, really, really appreciate so much her being a part of this, and just her being like, just so open, to me. It was really, really, really nice.
Love that. I mean, wine and cheese with Ellen Burstyn sounds pretty good. Tell us like what about these songs and what it was like to kind of have your acting music worlds combine again, which we love.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like the funnest challenge. I sort of tried to write the songs like as Caleb, and not just lyrically. I mean, obviously lyrically, it's like they're from his perspective and they are his story, which has been something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. So writing for film and TV sounds like the funnest thing in the world to me, and it was. But also like sonically, to be able to be like, okay, it's 2011, queer kid, what is he listening to? What does he think is cool? Kind of trying to get into that zone as well, from like a production standpoint and a sonic standpoint. It was just so fun. Like I honestly feel like you could release these songs as like Caleb, you know what I mean? And as well as me. So yeah, it was just like a really fun challenge as a writer, and I loved it. Also, just a nice thing is it kind of takes the pressure off. I'm so used to getting into the studio and being like, God, I'm gonna have to like empty my guts right now onto the floor. And with this, at this point, by the time I was writing the music, I knew Caleb, I felt so well and like so, intimately that it was about, and I had scenes that I could watch while I was in the studio and stuff. And so to kind of have all of this, like this world of information that wasn't from the usual places that I pull from, it was really fun for me. It was really nice.
I love that. And whose decision was it to put Any Which Way by Scissor Sisters in there? Because that is like my all-time favorite jam. So I was very
Whose
happy with
decision was it, Jared? We went through like a couple options.